Either you have connected to StreetText through a trial, you might have actually connected right through to your Facebook account, launched an ad, and you're thinking, now what? Or you didn't even get that far. You started to connect and you thought, I'm not sure I want to go any further. I want to learn more for us. Or you're just trying to figure out whether StreetText for you, or you've come all the way through. You're like, this is for me. I'm learning, I'm growing. And that's Caprice's example. So really, we just want to give you this 10,000-foot view, but know each of you coming in has a coach. So when you do a trial, we assign you a coach. And the reason we assign you a coach is so that you can personally apply this to you, your market, and we can kind of guide you in the direction of all of our resources, because we have a lot of resources. And when you work on social media, it can sometimes feel completely overwhelming. You keep hearing things like, you need to be on social media. Everyone's on social media, but you're like, how do I do that? And how do I know whether I'm doing something effectively or not? So the first thing you need to acknowledge is that everybody's face is in the book. Everyone is on social media constantly every day. We don't want to meet just people that we already know, people that are in our friends list. We want to meet new people. And you're living in something called the attention economy, learning to capture people's attention, get people's attention, and start conversation with new people on social media is possible, but you need to first learn how to best set up ads. And if anybody has used the Facebook Ads Manager, you could probably empathize with the fact that it's a labyrinth of frustration and confusion. If you've ever tried to launch your own ads on Facebook, it's an exercise in fruition. Like it's extremely frustrating. You think possibly maybe you've launched an ad. You have no idea whether the results coming out on the other end are good or bad. You just hope it's doing something. So we want to change that relationship for you with Facebook and the Ads Manager. We kind of want to intercede, we want to be your mediator. We want to sit in between you and the Ads Manager so you don't have to go in there and mess around and get lost and get frustrated, but you can still master the power of the Ads Manager on your own. So we basically teach you how to use the Ads Manager through our templates. So what happens is StreetText, you log into StreetText.com, you don't log into your Ads Manager, we're connected to your Ads Manager, and you run all of our proven result-driven ads. Our templates have all been proven to be successful with over 60% click-to-contact ratio in some of those ads. So no trying to figure out what creatives work. And some people right out of the gate, they see our map ad that we're going to show you today, and they think, a map? Like, really? That's it? But then they run it and they see that, oh, it actually gets results. So we've done creative that we know and we've seen work in all the markets. We know what works. Here's the key takeaway. How do you run ads in an effective way on Facebook? You have to know about the fact that Facebook does a test in that first 24 hours. It's a relevancy test. They basically show your ad to a bunch of people, and as that number starts to reach 500, they take that collective reaction of that audience and they make a judgment call against your ad. So that's a big takeaway today you're going to learn about. You want to do something called an audience test, because you don't want to just launch one ad and be at the mercy of one randomized audience. So we're going to show you how to get the best ad results on today's webinar. And we're also going to let you know your coach could help you set up that split test. So right out of the gate, think of an address that's smack dab in the middle of your 15-mile radius, which is what Facebook requires us to work. And we can set up in a split test. Here's the key. Within 24 hours, Facebook is going to make a decision on what they think about your ad. And you're going to see results. And if the results aren't lining up with what's good for your market, which your coach is going to be able to tell you, we turn those ads off. Don't keep running ads that aren't getting you results, because Facebook isn't going to change that over a 7-day period. We often run an ad and we think, oh, I'll just wait a week and see if it's going to do anything. If it didn't do anything in the first 24 hours, it's not going to be on the first 24 hours. So that's actually a really powerful thing to know. So we're going to teach you how to use particularly the seller's template. When you click on it, we're also going to show you that it's connected to a funnel that you get to personalize. So we've already talked about video. Well, how do you create relationship? You create conversation. So on the other end of this ad, when someone clicks, there's no building in landing pages and emails and text messages. It's already built into the ad, and you just get your personality all over them. So it kind of takes care of the entire funnel for you. So what we're going to do is jump into someone's account. We're going to show you, we're going to work with the seller's template. No, there's a listing template that you can use as well as a buyer's campaign. And there's 30 templates to choose from, even a custom template if you wanted to launch custom ads, and classes to go along with that. So if somebody have an account that's connected to their Facebook account already, a trial account that we can use as a demo today, who would like to volunteer? We usually like to pick on people on camera. Now they're like, I wish I would. Robert's on it. What's your last name, Robert?
You can unmute yourself there, Robert.
Mariani. Mariani.
Robert Mariani. All right. And Ira would be your coach. It doesn't look, well, I think, yes, we just have to select your Facebook account real quick. Let me get in there.
Ira's my coach.
Ira's your coach.
Cool.
Okay. Now we should be able to get in. Perfect. All right. I'm going to share my screen. So for everybody here, this is going to be the same thing you're going to see as you log into your dashboard. If you don't have a dashboard, you don't have a trial, or you just haven't set it up and connected it properly. So, you know, that could always be the case. And so if you're in here, you know you made it. Now, what do you want to do when you get in here? Well, first things first, if you go to your ads section, this is where your ads are going to be. So currently you don't have an ad, which is cool. We're going to help you build some. But this is where your metrics analytics will be. Like it's going to be basically breaking down your ad performance. Settings, right up here, this is where you update your profile information. So if you go to settings, this little gear wheel, one of the first things you want to do in here, it kind of directs you and navigates you, but update a slogan, because that's going to be identified. I'll show you shortly what that looks like. I'll just put your friendly neighborhood expert, Robert, and you can change that. Your website would be something you want to upload to, guys, because that's going to be in your email signature automatically as StreetText. When you do get a lead from any one of these ads, will automatically send out an email drip campaign. Okay, so you want to make sure you update that in your settings. And then conversations, this is your speed to lead component. This is like having an AI or an assistant that automatically texts your leads. All customizable, by the way, but you want to pick a number local to your market. So Robert, I'm guessing you're 805.
Yes.
Is that near Santa Barbara, or where is that?
San Luis Obispo.
Oh, hey, that's my college town.
Sweet.
Poly. That's
yeah,
right.
me too.
Tri-tip sandwiches, the best. Firestone.
Firestone.
That's right, bro. Okay, 805. So let's see what we can see. There we go. We're just gonna pick an 805 number that activates the SMS component, makes it feel like if you know, if they're gonna get a text from anybody, it's local. Okay. Now, what you need to know is that they think they're talking to Julie, which is your text assistant. So you'll see as we do an example what that looks and feels like. But just know they're not getting a text from you. They're getting text from an AI that assumes that you have an assistant named Julie. Okay?
Cool.
So we'll talk more about that shortly. All right. Since we don't have any ads to talk about just yet, we'll just go straight into building a best practice ad. And here's what you need to know. Marketing, take that marketing hat off right now, because everything you're going to learn right now is going to be like, why would you do that? That is so stupid. I would never put a map in front of anybody. But guess what? It works a lot. Like 60% of every click becomes a contact with this method. We've done this for 5+ years. Hundreds of thousands of ads have been tested to develop these results. 20,228 as of this last month alone has developed an average of 60% contact ratio, $2 addresses, $6 emails, $18 phone numbers across the board, right? And every market's unique. Every marketplace is different. San Luis Obispo is going to be different from Fargo, North Dakota, from somewhere in Winnipeg in Canada. Okay, every time you're running an ad, you're running and competing against the auction of that marketplace and advertising of retailers, big box, not just the real estate professional industry. So just so you know, that's why you have to test these. And we're going to show you the concept of split testing today, leveraging a funnel that's so powerful. Now, when I get in here and I select, because everybody's going to actually want to build an ad out of this. Even if you guys have an ad running, by the way, you're going to want to do this with your coach. When you select an ad here, you have this blank template. And this blank template allows you to go in there and put in your name, city, and your neighborhood and search an address. So Robert, I'm going to, just for fun, put San Luis Obispo. Okay.
I can give you my home address if that helps.
Sure. I mean, here's the thing. I know.
I have my house on the market, so I don't know if that makes a difference.
No, that's fun. Give me one.
1008
Yeah.
Twin Creek Road.
San Luis Obispo. There it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the market.
Perfect. Okay. So when you get in here, I'm just going to show you something because everybody wants to start with like putting SLO or San Luis Obispo in there. If someone wanted to buy your San Luis Obispo home, would you sell it, find its value in the current market? Now, guess what? I could go put in San Luis Obispo here, just like this. And that would be like, seem to be the obvious thing to do. If someone were to buy your San Luis Obispo home, would you sell it, find its value in the current market? But what I want you to start realizing is that everybody now in the United States and Canada have to begin with 15 miles as a minimum radius. So when you're thinking about that in the perspective of SLO or even your home address, all of a sudden that includes all the way out to Morro Bay and down, as you can see, past Pismo Beach and Oceano or Rio Grande and all those areas. So, it doesn't mean you can't really focus on SLO, because guess what? One of the hacks of being near the water is I can push this out a little bit into the water and kind of really design of a little bit of a hack to the radius. But you still have to account for this 15-mile circle. So let me stop the share for a second, because everybody here, I want you to imagine and think about your area, number one, first and foremost. And I want you to start thinking about, is it my home? Is it my work? Perhaps I live near the water. Perhaps I live near the ocean, or some lakes or some mountains or whatever that is. You got to start now thinking in terms of a 15-mile radius, because you've now become a 15-mile influencer. And it's like, yeah, it sucks. I get it. You can't just go out in your backyard and start, going after leads in that area. And you can still do it, by the way. You can still zoom right into an image of your local market, put San Luis Obispo on there and test it out. Nothing's stopping you from doing that. But as a best practice, we have found that 15 miles is the best thing to take account for. Right? So for you, Robert, and for everybody here, is everybody like, for people that are on camera, give me a thumbs up. Good. Okay. And if you're not on camera, give us a little chat thumbs up, because we can't see you. And guess what? Your leads can't see you either. So what you're about to see too is the importance of being seen. Okay. And that's going to be a big indicator of future conversations with your leads. So now that you kind of see that, Robert, what would you say? Like, would you wanting to hack that radius a little bit? Like now that you're looking at, oops, where'd I go?
I would, because our area mostly runs north and south anyway along the coastline. So, I mean, if I had Morro Bay to Pismo, for example, or Morro Bay even down to Napomo, that would be great.
Okay. Let me get back to my screen. It seemed to have lost it. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Because I'm going to capture, like, if you look east and west, Morro Bay would almost line up with like Tascadero, maybe north of Tascadero.
So follow me here. Where you want to go down to, what would be the best practice for you? What would you see out of here?
Let's push it. It's hard for me to tell, but that looks like it's covering everything all the way up to Santa Margarita. I would want to cover Santa Margarita.
Okay, so what you're seeing right now is past Morro Bay. And if I go, because if I drop it in SLO, it's going to go down to Oceano. It depends on how south do you want to be and how north are you willing to go to?
Oh, I'm willing to go as south as Napomo.
Okay, so if you want to go as south as Napomo, you can drop it down here. And if you want to go up to Santa Margarita too, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you can do something like this, and then kind of move it to capture just the outskirts of that. So you're also, because you wouldn't quite get Morro Bay, but again, the 15 is a minimum, so you can expand your radius if you want to go wide.
Let's go up a little bit and get Morro Bay, and then I'm good.
Just like that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so then if you start there, you're kind of like in between Edna and Avila Beach, just below, like in the triangle of San Luis Obispo, Avila Beach, Edna. So what you want to do, usually what I recommend is go zoom right in there, kind of figure out a pinpoint. If I get right into as close as possible, let's call it, Johnson Ranch open space right there.
Yeah.
Because you want to get as accurate as possible. Because if you're going to build multiple ads, that's where you start in that local area.
Well, I live in the Rigetti
And I
Range.
click escape.
Yeah. The Rigetti
Perfect.
Range,
So here's where you click done.
Mm-hmm.
You click done, you go back, and then you adjust that image accordingly, because you need to take into consideration all those areas, right? So if we do that, we know we wanted moral base, and then we adjust the image, and now we kind of got that perfect image that takes into consideration the 15 miles. So that's always the smart thing to do is start with the pin drop. So you, instead of going into your step 2 and designing San Luis Obispo and designing your address, always start with the pin drop, and your coach will help you go through this. Okay. Move that pin drop accordingly. Click done. You're going to get a longitude, latitude. It looks like this, 35.2209 and minus 120, whatever that means, right? But all you need to know is that means 15 miles on that map. You go back, design the image with that exact pin drop in mind, because you got to make sure that what you're going to show those people takes into consideration the 15 miles. And then instead of saying San Luis Obispo on here, or the San Luis Obispo area, or a county, or whatever you think you might say on there, we have found that the best thing to draw the eyes up and get the click is actually emojis. Surprise, surprise. And so what we do is we go to this website called Emojipedia, and we grab an emoji with a house, press copy, and then we just throw in some emojis just like that. And guess what? That is the perfect best practice ad, because you're saying if someone wanted to buy your emoji home, but it's just, you know, they're not seeing that, they're just drawing their eyes up. Would you sell it, find its value in the current market? The map image is perfectly suited now, because you started with the 15 miles to really acknowledge what that 15 miles looks like. You've zoomed out on this map to really showcase that. So you don't have to no longer say San Luis Obispo. It's obvious, people drive through there all the time. They use map features, you know it. And you can test, we can A/B test all day, meaning A/B test this actual template would be, hey, let's try a satellite map. Let's try the map versus terrain and pull in the mountains and so forth. But we like to start with the map. Okay, that's the best practice, is always start here. And then basically you click next, you get to your $9 a day ad budget, because that's just something we've tested. Every market will react differently to this 9. It's just a good starting point, and then we can adjust accordingly depending on your area. But $9 a day is a really great start. It gets you in front of 500 people pretty fast, usually in about 24 hours. Leave it clicked on Facebook. We can do Instagram as well, but we want to start on Facebook before we start testing Instagram. And then your estimated commission is basically, you know, you have to take into consideration what your average home sale out there is and what you'd make from a lead like that. No, you don't have to worry about that, but it'll calculate in your future cost per lead to show you what's even possible for a return of investment of if you can convert 1.5% and you know, 5 times ROI. We take that into consideration. And then, Robert, it's basically just deploying. And once you deploy, it'll automatically build the automations behind it. So there'll be a drip email campaign, like immediate email that goes out on your behalf, a day 3, a day 7, and so forth, all the way up to 9 months if you should want it. And we'll work with you on customizing that. And the automatic text message campaign that's actually associated with that as well. So that as soon as that click and contact comes in, bam, this is built. You know, now I'll let Troy, if you're here, kind of walk you through, now that we have a pre-built ad, kind of what's happening from the consumer's experience. Because now that I've built your ad, you'll go to your ad section and you'll see the ads right here. And it's going to take an hour or 2 before Facebook pushes it live. It's pending some approvals and stuff. It's in process right now, it's building. So this is the perfect time to actually come in here and actually walk through the landing pages so you can experience what the homeowner would be after clicking on the ad. And the ad itself will show you as well. We'll pull up someone else's account because yours is so fresh. But this actually will show you what the ad, the lead on the seller side experiences the moment they click on the ad from their smartphones. And that's the important takeaway, is like, as I'm on my phone right now and I pull this open and I go to my Facebook app, because we do it all day long, right? We're all guilty of this. And we just start randomly scrolling down our feed, you know, and you see all your friends' updates and so forth. That's exactly where these ads are being positioned, in the news feed on the phone, and it looks no different than any other feed they're seeing from their friends and family and friends, I mean, and just stuff, right? Most people know there's a sponsored ad, but these maps don't feel like that. It feels very organic and native. So that's why it gets such great clicks. And if we can drive the cost per click as low as possible, naturally these leads flood in. Okay, any questions before we move into the process? And I'll let Troy kind of walk you through the actual experience and what's even possible with that experience.
Hey, Mark, it's Greg Spawn. Are those ads, are they agnostic? I mean, they're just coming in with no realtor name or anything on them, correct?
Your business page is your brand.
Okay, it's coming through you.
So
okay,
it's sponsored from the business page that you chose to connect to the StreetText trial.
All right, perfect.
But even still, when you see an ad with your business page, rarely people do they ever see that little picture of you in the corner or even the business page title. They're drawn into the imagery. They're drawn into the verbiage. It's almost like you're stopping the scroll, passive marketing, right, on Facebook. So just remember, your brand doesn't really become as obvious until they're actually in the landing pages and at the point of the name and phone number submission, which we're about to show you. And even more important, it's not as obvious until they get a email from you. That's when they really see the humanized process begin.
Okay, good. All right, thanks.
Hey, Mark, what's the kind of a typical conversion percentage to expect with these type of ads?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, it's so subjective to your follow-up. And so, you know, when you hear industry standards like 1.5%, that's for people that just don't do much. When you're really looking to convert leads, you have to start considering your integrations, how you personalize the automations, your personal follow-up, how many touch points. And then it's really the mindset you have to really prepare for a top of funnel style lead. Because when you think at the top of the funnel, you're on their time, they're not on yours. They're not saying, come list my home today, or I want to buy with you today. It's all about how do you develop that relationship today.
And so some of that stuff, is that some of that the coach help optimize some of that stuff? I mean, obviously they can't optimize, you meeting with them and all that, but. Yeah,
no, absolutely. We help you design a process that really reinforces your personality and brand. Because it's all about them getting to know and like you before they trust you, right? And so that's a big part of that, is developing that strategy. And if you focus on that and being a go-giver and coming from contribution, it absolutely just starts, these appointments naturally come in after that. And then it's just up to you taking that into an appointment, right? But we'll show you. Troy, do you want to kind of walk them through the process or the landing pages? And we could pull up I'll look for an ad as well, but you can start with walking them through the submissions.
I have a quick question about the geographic locations with that 15-mile radius.
Yeah.
I'm in the tri-state area, and I'm only licensed in 2 of those states. So I don't know how I would position my 15-mile radius and exclude Maryland.
Good question. So we'll have to work with you on that. So that's I would say just work with your coach, and we'll kind of start looking at the pin drop and moving it around so we can really maximize that. In some cases, it's never perfect. So you just got to really show Facebook and then reinforce it if you're getting the leads you want, and reinforce it also if you're not by pausing that ad. As soon as you're getting, like, if you get multiple submissions from out of area leads, out of state, or personally, you got to say, Facebook, this is not what I want. And so what we have to do is design the image accordingly to make sure it's obvious when the leads that you want are seeing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, great questions.
Yeah, but if you do get some of those, just find a realtor over there you can just send referrals to and get free
I do.
referral fees. So
Yeah.
because you're probably bound to get some, I would think.
All right, Troy, take it away, my friend.
Yeah, you want to drop us into the account there? Perfect. All right, so landing page. This is the landing page they're going to hit when they click on the ad. And so one thing to notice is that we're still using the same image from the ad itself. And this is important because in the moment that they click on your ad, they don't know, like, or trust you yet. So we want to start building on that by taking them to a place that's still familiar. We're not going to take them to some place that's completely unfamiliar, right? So then they're going to enter in their address. So we can click Analyze My Property. They're going to throw their address in there. And this is a dynamic lead capture process. So we first capture their address, going to submit, analyze my property. And in that moment, now I've been captured as a lead. Now, if I decide not to go to the next step, I'm just an address only lead, right? Maybe I'm afraid to get spam, and that's okay. I'm still somebody who's raised my hand and said, yes, I'm interested in my home value, right? So cost reference tax records, find the name of the individual and send them something in the mail, right? And so Marcus is showing here in the contact section, you can find those under the address only leads.
Hey, Troy,
yeah.
real quick, is somebody just responding with the address of their house, but they're not providing their email on that?
Yeah. If they don't go to the next step, yeah. So the next step is now to enter their email address and give you permission for you to email them. So Marcus will show you here. He's going to throw in his email address, going to give you permission, and then he's going to hit next. The minute he does that, now he's been placed on a 9-month drip campaign with an email that gets sent to his inbox immediately. All right, so he's going to show you here. Right there, there's the one from Robert. So just wanted to let you know I've received your Facebook request and I'm on it. Are there any updates or recent renovations that I should be aware of? And we're going to talk about the importance of editing this and really making it your own in a moment here. But first, let's go back into the lead capture. Now they can leave some info on their home. So property condition, if they've done any recent renovations or anything like that. And then they can also say when they're ready to sell. Now, the biggest key here is not to put a whole lot of emphasis on this. People put something in there, right? Sometimes it's just a defense mechanism. I like to treat everybody as just curious because it allows you to be a lot more casual in your conversation. It's not about going in there and immediately trying to list their home. It's about creating a relationship, and you first start that with a conversation, right? So it's about finding out about them and why they're interested in selling.
Hey, Troy, can we optimize those questions right there too, or can we change those, or are those just recommended to stay?
Those are recommended. That's kind of what's built into the forms themselves. Yep. So I'm going to submit that information. Now on this page here, this is where we can pull in that slogan if you enter it into your profile there, and we can also pull in a Facebook review. That all helps to brand this according to you. It also helps build that know, like, and trust. Right, so we're going to set a Facebook review as a favorite here. And if we go back into that page and reload it, that's going to pull in. There it is. So next up, they can leave their name and their number, and they're going to hit submit my value. So the minute they leave a phone number, now if you set up Julie, within 3 minutes, they're going to get a text message from her. And they're going to continue to get messages from her over the course of 3 more days, unless they reply. And we'll show you where to respond to them in a moment here. So now final page here, they can schedule an appointment if they like. So they'll pick a date and a time. You'll get that notification. You just reach back out to them and confirm it. All right. So if we go back now into the account, go into the contact section, you're going to see that contact info is all there, full contact. They can do things such as track the progress, drop some notes in here. You can delete the ad or the lead. You can then go into further details here. And you can see we're pulling Google Street View of their property. You'll see those details that they've entered in on the right-hand side there. And then if you don't want them on the automations, you can just turn it off, right? That'd be good in the case that you've actually had a conversation with the individual. So Marcus, do you want to take us through the importance of that first initial email?
I'd love to, Troy. Thanks for asking. So the key on this, guys, is your first impression, right? I mean, if I go to my email right now and I just saw that email, chances of you getting a reply to that are pretty slim. It's because it's like, hey, I feel bait and switched. I was asking for a home value and you're asking me questions. I don't even know you. And so really what we emphasize to make sure that impression is you, personality wise, as a real person connecting with them, is obvious. It's just be there automatically with a video. And I'll show you an example of that. So we love services like BombBomb and Dub and, those type of integrations, because as soon as someone gets into their email and they experience you from the get-go, it's a game changer. It really is. Like, it really humanizes this process. I mean, you can see how easy it is to click on a 20-second video, by the way. It's really short. And more importantly, you know, when you look at this GIF side of the video element, it's bringing her personality to life. I haven't even clicked on this video yet, and I can see her body language is personable. It's fun. She's happy. She's somebody I can automatically feel like I can connect with. And I think that's the key in this, is like, regardless of whether you know it or not, people are going to make a preconceived judgment call the moment they get into any sort of communication from you. Like, and you want that preconceived judgment to be in your favor. You know, we don't want anything miscommunicated, and that you are personally going to be working with them. So when you start looking on, and we have an entire course that will work you through, by the way, on what's even possible here, because everybody's going to have their own way of doing it. There's no one way to put in you there. But I'll just kind of show you, like, one of my favorite ones from the very get-go. If I can go find it, customizing, here we go. Oh, this one. This is the challenge. So you have a whole course that we have for free, by the way, to give to you, to show you so many fun examples. Here's a 17-second video that's really relatable, I think, as you get into that first email. This is what this particular person did.
Hi, I'm Marley with Elevate Real Estate. I got your request for the home price valuation and I am on it. Oh, and by the way, I left a link to my Facebook profile page below. I'll just be sending you a really quick friend request. Want to make sure you get a chance to meet me. We'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay, so that's fun, right? And you can ask some personal questions. If you look at that or something like this and compared to, you know, what I just got from you, Robert, I mean, you could see how powerful the difference, like, there's a big difference. Right. And it's not, we're talking about, this can be layered in through automations entirely through your drip campaign. And I think for the first 7 to 10 days, it's super important to combine video automation with personal video follow-up and even screen recording, which systems like that allow you to do, because what you're going to really reinforce is that the internet's best guess is all over the place. And I know you guys know Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and Realtor. Well, you actually use those resources to your advantage to really highlight that the internet has no clue what they're talking about, and where you can come in to really give them an in-depth market analysis. Any questions on that? We can show you some examples, but I think that's better reserved for you and your coach, because if we want to talk follow-up, we have to have a separate conversation. This is really for you to understand lead gen and how to set up your lead gen ads. And we haven't even begun to tell you, because Robert, we just set up one ad for you. Mm-hmm. Now, the key on here is you don't want to just set up one ad to test really if it's going to be effective or not, because what you're trying to do is really tap into that first 500. And so we need to actually split test those audience to figure out where the relevancy is in that 15 miles. And the only way to do that is to actually design a split test. And a split test is actually what you just saw, how we designed your ad, and set it up exactly the same for 3 ads at a time. Because every time you're running a split test, you're keeping everything the same. The only thing that's different is the first 500 it's being put in front of. And you'd be so surprised to see when you wake up tomorrow and let's say $5 to $10 of ad spend has been spent on each ad, they're going to have unique ad performances. And we have so many examples time and time again when we do a split test where, you know, one ad starts at like $4 a click and got you an address maybe with $10 of ad spend, and the same exact ad reached a different audience and it's like less than $1 a click, multiple submissions, phone numbers, all that good stuff. And you're like, well, what was different about it? Nothing. The audience itself it got in front of. And so we're not looking to spend your money here on Facebook. We just want you to spend it wisely and effectively. And so we're not looking to actually say, you know, you need to go spend $27 because that's what $9 times 3 would be. Just for the first 24 hours, you need to consider doing that so that you can find the great ad performance, turn the underperformers off, and let the good ad win. And then even then, you can adjust the ad budget accordingly, because we've seen so many examples in some markets where $9 a day is just way too many. Or on the opposite end, not enough, depending on the market you're in. So for the first 24 hours, we recommend a split test. And the best way to do that is just to get with your coach, give them the address, but go in there in your funnel template to start and start working in that third step, just designing the pin drop first and foremost, because you need to get clear with that 15 miles before you do anything. Once you found that 15 miles, and again, it's not going to be perfect, but once you find it, now we can help you design that split test and make sure it goes out properly, efficiently with best practices. And then ideally what we do is we get with you 24 hours later, review those metrics with you. And then really, obviously the conversation becomes more fun because then it's all about, hey, how do we get into conversation with these leads? Does that make sense? And by the way, that applies for buyer ads, that applies for your listings, that applies for custom ads, because when you're trying to start this, you have to start somewhere. We like to start with sellers. So sellers is usually what people are attracted to with us, but we can do it for everything. It just depends on what your priority is right now. And one of the cool things about Facebook and in the top of funnel is you got to acknowledge that buyers are oftentimes sellers because you're getting there early. So when you put a list of properties, get your free exclusive weekly list of homes for sale on San Luis Obispo with, what would be the hot one right now, Robert?
The Rigetti Ranch, the new development where I'm at.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at new construction. That's all there is.
So you'd want to test that, because if everybody's looking, and then you got to know where those buyers are coming from. They're obviously not coming just from slow.
No, I looked at how money walks.
Yeah. So that's a separate thing altogether when you're doing target audiences on the buyer side. And that's why you have coaches, because we want to work with you on that and show you how to build those. You can build multiple pin drops on your target audience. You can target out of state and so forth. But at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that when you spend something, don't let that ad continue running for more than 24 hours without making an educated decision on whether you should keep it going or pause it. Because Facebook inevitably will always spend your money. They're always wanting it. Of course, they're going to try to spend your money. So you got to tell them when they're spending it wisely and when they're not, because you'll be charged by the click. Ira, Troy, is there anything I'm missing on here?
No, I think it's just clarifying that split test is the way to start. So like when you do that split test, you're going to find a good performer. And that's kind of like your first step. The lead flow is important. If you don't have lead flow, then the communication doesn't matter. So we'll help you get addressed in that ad, getting a good ad functioning, and help you define what's good for your market. And then the next step will be, our community is nailing this. Like, they are so good at this, and they're so good at sharing. They have an abundant mindset. Nobody's holding their cards to their chest. Well, maybe there's some people. I know there's probably some people that are killing it and aren't saying anything, and they're watching and taking notes and running off and doing their thing. But there's enough people that are sharing what they're doing that you don't have to like reinvent the wheel. Just align yourself with somebody like Jenka last week, who was sharing that she's got 16 buyer leads right now in California that are converted from StreetText leads. She's got them approved and they're shopping for houses. 4 of them are going to be selling when they're done buying. And that's from a buyer lead campaign ad. So she shared on her mastermind. She shared her script. She even was sending them to people. Like, our community is so good at that part of it. So ad performance, we want to show that to you in trial. That's why we set up trial. So you can see the leads coming in. You can see what that looks like. And then it's partnering with the mindset. If you have the mindset that this isn't going to work, your responses to your leads are not going to work. But if you partner with the mindset of those that are like, these leads, whether they're an address only or whether they're submitting me a phone number, have amazing potential. Because when we audit the leads and we go into someone's account, a good chunk of them, like 60%, have actually sold their property in the last year. So they're looking, and it's your follow-up process that really matters. And sometimes we don't know what to say. We don't know how to do it. The community shows you that. So it's really about partnering with that side of things once you see the ad performance and moving into the whole membership end of things. But any other questions that people might have that we haven't gotten to yet?
What portion of ad spend is going towards retargeting?
Good question. We don't do anything towards retargeting in terms of taking the leads that are coming in and retargeting the same ones that have already come through your funnel, but we are capturing that information. And we say about the 3 to 4 month mark, you can go in and use one of our custom templates to build a retargeting ad. This is really about getting new people into your funnel. And then once you start working with those people, then we teach you how to use the custom ad, for example, to put a review of yourself that keeps showing up. Like I think Steve did a class where it's $1 a day will show up on people's feeds, just a review of you to keep reminding them, hey, that person that's reached out to you creatively a couple different times, they're still here and look how awesome everybody thinks they are. So that's part of the retargeting.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a database already, huge database. I was just wondering if I can get you all to do the same thing for my database, like retargeting.
We do have a class specifically for that, and that's probably the ad tweets class that we'd put you in front of our founder, Stephen Whiting, to ask him specifically on those type of things. But you'd still want to start like everybody else starts, by generating new leads, because that's what StreetText is all about. We're about to fill your top of funnel, and do it in such a way, because these leads that you start talking to today, most of these guys are going to be transacting in the spring of the new year, right? So this is the momentum you're building for 2021.
And you specifically going after targeted sellers, like motivated sellers, like short, people that's behind on their mortgage foreclosures, or
well,
what?
no. When people are on Facebook, they're scrolling down their feed. It's interruption-based marketing at its finest. So you don't know the mindset of that person. You're just getting them to click through. Until you have that conversation, you truly don't know what that click means until you have that conversation. So it's all about how you create that conversation. And so, which is why we're living in this day of age where everything needs to be thought about virtually. But again,
So,
we'll work with you one-on-one specifically for the questions that you have on the business that your database that you already have.
So one last question. Can you do the same thing on like YouTube and Google, like videos?
Well, this is going to be a Facebook and Instagram focused program.
And is there any capabilities of possibly doing it later?
But it wouldn't be with StreetText for that. Not for.
Right.
We're going to be primarily focused on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Maybe TikTok. I'm just joking.
TikTok. Oh no.
That'd be a whole other conversation. So, but here's what you want to actually do before you even, like, there's a lot of researching you're probably trying to do right now to figure out if this is a fit for you. I would say, number one, have the opportunity to meet with your coach, do a one-on-one session, and join our StreetText Facebook group. Because when you get into this community, you automatically get to see the discussions people are having every day. And you also get to see people that have been with us for years and how they're converting these leads and what they're doing and how they're talking. Another thing I would consider you checking out is our mastermind on this Wednesday. Because the mastermind is a meeting, same time you're at right now, but you're joining the entire community and you're actually witnessing people that are converting leads. And that's way more social proof for you than anything else. Because that's the one meeting a week where we say everybody should attend to see the value of StreetText, because there's nothing like actually asking questions to those people that are actually doing it. You're hearing it from us as coaches, and we're, that's one thing, but we're not out there having to convert those leads like you guys.
Okay.
Right? We're helping you generate leads, but that's one part of the process. The other piece is the lead conversion. Lead generation, I never feel like it's ever going to be a hard thing to do. You might have to split test a little bit and A/B test to find that ideal audience.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, everybody can tap into Facebook's algorithm. You just got to work it.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do work it, predictability starts coming in, leads coming in. Now it's all about how you personally can have a conversation with that person, and make them feel like you're being authentic and not just trying to sell them. So, I mean, no one wants to be sold, guys. Remember that.
Coming from a contribution and helping. So I came in late, you have the CRM and all of that, right? The CRM?
Yeah. Okay. And Charles, whoever's been texting you, just text back.
Okay.
And that person will be in touch with you and set up a one-on-one, because that's what you guys all deserve from here, is to get a one-on-one meeting set up.
Okay.
Awesome. Great questions. Anybody have some other questions? Okay. Ira, why don't you take them through to, kind of paint the picture of what, we're scratching the surface right now, obviously, on what's possible with StreetText, but what other resources should they be looking at, and what's their next steps here?
I think it's understanding that social media sometimes feels like an elephant, and you can eat an elephant. You just got to do it one bite at a time. So it's really about going back to the basics. First step, good ad performance. So your coach can help you with that. If you haven't started a trial, I just put the link in the chat. Click on that. That'll connect you to a coach. Even if you have more questions, that'll get you a one-on-one with a coach that can kind of help close the gap on those questions so you feel confident running with your trial. Once you establish good ad performance, then you move into, okay, how do I best respond to those leads? And as we mentioned, we have tons of resources with that. It's really about having a long-term mindset on social media. And sometimes what happens is you compare yourself to somebody else who's killing it, and you're taking their end game and you're wanting to start where they're finishing. So you need to be able to start work right here, right now, and then follow in the footsteps of somebody who's already done it. So in terms of our membership platforms, we have a bunch of different options. Our one-year option is the one that we kind of advocate for, because we believe that if you have the mindset of long-term, you're going to have the most success doing this, because you're going to not be dependent on that deal coming in the first week of signing up. In fact, I've had people where they said, I'm spending my last dollars on this because I need the deal in this week. And I said, we're not for you. I don't want you doing that. I want you, because your communication is going to come across as desperate, and your communication needs to come back across as I'm for you, not for me. And you can see it gets laced in the communication that's going out. So when you look at the plans, if you go to the welcome dashboard, you'll see that we have all the way down at the bottom. If you scroll, there's a little button that says ready to sign up. And that kind of runs through our 3 different pricing platforms. You get more value when you commit for that long term. So $19.20 covers the cost of the entire platform for the year, and then it renews month to month at the end of the term at $160 a month. And then the 6 month is $1,020, renews month to month at $170 at the end of that 6 month term. And then the 3 month is $600 and renews month to month at $200 at the end of that term. When you commit to the 1 year, people like Donna Swansea, she's put together an entire course. She's done 200 plus deals with StreetText. She was a school teacher that became a real estate agent, and she just developed a process around it. The cool thing is she's checked in after 4 years. Guess what she's changed? Not a whole lot. It's still working. She's still doing the things that she used to do to get where she is. You get that course for free when you sign up for the 1 year, just kind of following in her process. But we have an academy course that kind of lays out, Marcus was already in there showing you Marley's video, but it lays out kind of the setup of your account. We want to make sure you get to that course. So your coach will get you connected to that. We have our link for our classes that we have on a weekly basis. The Mastermind and the Conversion 101 is a great class to get to spell out the concept and the mindset around this. And then there's other classes beyond that. Ad Tweaks is great. Once you become a member, it helps you keep on top of your ad performance. Because the thing is, once you land on an ad that works, it should continue to work, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. But there is some ad maintenance. I saw someone last week who their ad kind of tanked, and they messaged me and they're like, Ira, my ad's not doing well. And we went in and did some investigating. Well, it was because he was ignoring the comments on it. And the comments started to get all spammy. People were having political arguments on his feed. And it just, so I said, it looks like an unkept store. If I drove by a store and people had thrown trash all over it, I'm going to assume you're not occupying it anymore. So your ad basically looked unoccupied. You were getting like $3 or $4 emails. And he had, for a whole week, he had only gotten 4 emails. And it was because of those comments. So you need to be on top of those little things like ad maintenance once you find an ad that's working. But let's get you an ad that's working. So think of an address, send it to your coach. If you haven't heard from your coach, you don't know who your coach is, message anybody from StreetText and say, are you my coach? We can set up that split test for you. And then we can review the results 24 hours with you. So we can look and see and show you, yep, this is good. Sometimes in some markets, you need to be more aggressive. You need to set up more than one split test. And we'll be able to say, no, let's turn all these off. Let's split test again, especially now during the holidays. So a lot of people trying to compete for that space. So your split test becomes your way to win. Being aggressive with a split test.
Here's another thing, Robert. I just for the conversations, right? So if you get the text message sent out for anybody here, and I respond like, hey, you know, because I got a text from your assistant, Julie. It says, I just want to let you know I received your Facebook home valuation request for the property valuation 133, right? That whole thing. And then what the key is, if I respond and said a new kitchen, you want to actually come in here and role play as your assistant. So you can say, hey, tell me more about your kitchen, Marcus. And but you do it from the dashboard. So the key is, you got to remember, if they think they're speaking to your assistant named Julie, if you're going to hand it off to yourself, you got to let Julie hand it off and say, hey, let me get this information back to Robert. Before I do, can you tell us a little bit more about your kitchen? And so that's the beginning, and we'll work you through that as well. I mean, you can customize all these autoresponders, but if you're going to be using this trial in the beginning, just know there's an automatic text going out. And if the conversation begins, it'll be in this conversations tab and it'll light up as yellow. And that's when you know someone's responded to your auto text. Little small things like that you're going to want to learn quite early, obviously, because if you do get this text message assistant working, use it to your advantage. And then we'll help layer you with some great email signatures, and consider running some video inside of that, which would be pretty fun for you, I think.
So how do we coordinate with our coach? Is there going to be a link in a calendar where we set a time?
Yeah. Just text the last person who texted you. If you haven't got a text yet, then
I have. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Then that will be going. Any other questions here?
What about Instagram? What do you guys do with Instagram?
Same thing, right? It's layering the feed, and you just test it. I would say let's focus on Facebook first and foremost, because that's, everybody's there. I mean, millennials, Generation Y, baby boomers, Generation X, everybody, billions of people actually. And so I think it's a perfect place to start, and then we can test out Instagram as well, and do some split testing with that. Yeah. Okay. Everybody know what they got to do? Hey, one of the things I would recommend is signing into your dashboard while it's still fresh right now, going into that funnel template. So for everybody, I want you to go to your dashboard right here, go into funnels, do this from your desktop, go to the seller property valuation conversion template, which is your second one, click select, and where it's all blank, skip this step 2 and go straight into this button, drop a pin, type in the address that comes to mind. If we were talking about San Luis Obispo or any of those areas, that's where you would go drop that pin, and there's this little square. You would open it, and then you get a visual, and then move that visual to ideally get your 15 miles that you're willing to work. Because once you figure that out, then I want you to actually zoom right into that area when you actually drop the map, and get as clear as possible on what that ideal pin drop is. So in this case, maybe it was the Irish Hills Reserve, or you know what I mean? Figure out what that address is that would ideally give you that 15 miles of influence. And then that would be your good starting point for the pin drop.
And text or email it to your coach or Facebook message.
Email to your coach, and then we'll help you build it. So so there's no mistake with the
Because I just looked at an ad where somebody launched over the weekend, and they launched it themselves, and it's like pretty much the ocean and like a little tiny crescent. And then I looked at another one that was like North America, and then it was like, so let us help you not drop your pin in Ireland the first time.
You can easily make a mistake if you don't do it properly. So don't allow that mistake to come out, because Facebook will still launch it. And you'll just have to be okay with the results. So you don't want that happening. Let's get it set up properly.
Let's get you familiar with it so you can tell when you've made a mistake.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, everybody. We'll be talking to you shortly.
Thanks.